Live from KTUL, you're watching Tulsa's Channel 8 News at 10.
And we're following breaking weather tonight. Numerous car crashes and a state of emergency. A day of sleet and ice comes to a close, but another wave is on the way.
You're looking at a live stream from the Brookside area where power outages are being reported. PSO is reporting almost 2,500 customers right now are without electricity in the Tulsa area. As for the roads, we're told right now they aren't too bad, but by morning it could be a much different story. The list of school closings for tomorrow keeps growing. Well,
the weather forces a number of schools to call up classes tomorrow. That includes Tulsa and our surrounding districts: Union, Broken Arrow, Bixby, Jenks, Glenpool, Sand Springs, Sapulpa, and Owasso. Colleges are also closed, including TCC, OU Tulsa, OSU Tulsa, and NSU Broken Arrow. We have a complete list at the bottom of the screen and also at K2L.com.
Tonight, Channel 8 has live team coverage. Bert Mumolo is standing by in the Midtown area with road conditions. But first, let's kick things off with Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Zeppelin. Jennifer.
Well, as we take a look at HD Max 8000, we have seen waves of snow, sleet, freezing rain, and even at times there has been what we call thunder snow, at least over extreme southeastern Oklahoma, as that warm layer of air moves into the region. That's where we've seen that mixture of freezing rain, sleet, and even snow. What we're looking at right now is that basically things have kind of quieted down from earlier in the day. We still have that mixture occurring off to the east of McAllister, around Muskogee, and then into Poto, and then heading into Arkansas and Missouri. But this isn't the end of it. We have another wave that's back to the west of us that will be moving in. But things are pretty quiet right now as far as on the radar scope. But as we've been talking about, that we're starting to get reports of power outages across the area. And I have a feeling that this will probably continue to grow. And that's because of the wind and the accumulation. And with this next round moving in, that's going to continue to just create more problems across eastern Oklahoma, really a large portion of the central and southern plain states. So from around just to the south of Interstate 44, from Miami Pryor, Jay, and then you head into Tahlequah, Stillwell, you're dealing with that wintry mix right now along Interstate 40. The road conditions, as we've been talking about, are not bad on the interstates, but then you get those side roads and those secondary streets, and there are still a lot of slick spots, especially when you're looking at hills in many locations with that layer of sleet that we had earlier in the day, and now we're going to be adding more snow on top of it. Look at this big area of moisture that's hanging out over Texas from around San Angelo to the Big Bend country. That is what is headed our way, and this is what's going to create even more problems late tonight, early tomorrow, and that's why we're still expecting more accumulation on already what we've received across eastern Oklahoma. So as the storm system moves in, we've seen the road conditions that will continue to deteriorate into the early morning hours when you're looking at extremely cold temperatures and more snow that will be collecting on the roadways. Here's some of the latest pictures coming in from our storm team. We're looking at Fred Williams, some video across the Tulsa Metro. This was eastbound 71st Street. We still have the winter storm warning in effect until tomorrow night. We're going to give you a timeline on what the storm system is expected to do when this next round moves in and just how much snow that will be collecting over the next 12 hours.
Another round on the way. All right, thanks, Jennifer. So far today, EMS has responded to about 40 weather-related incidents, most of them car crashes.
And that includes this rollover accident on Highway 75 near Apache. This SUV rolled over, causing quite a bit of damage to the car, but fortunately the driver was not hurt. Tonight and tomorrow, state officials and IMSA paramedics have this warning for drivers: go slow and keep a safe distance, or just stay home.
Unless they have a dire emergency where they have to get out, at which time if they do need to travel, they need to take their time, plan accordingly, drive slowly for the conditions, maybe keep blankets, heat source, food source, water source in their car in case they do get stranded, and if they have a cell phone, obviously use it.
The city of Tulsa has declared Operation Slick Streets, and here's what that means to you. If you get into a fender bender and no one is hurt, do not call police. Drivers should pull off the roadway and exchange insurance information. Incidents can then be reported by filling out a form available at most Quick Trip stores or online through Tulsa Police. Sand crews are working round the clock to make sure your trip to and from work are safe.
Channel 8's Bert Mumolo talked to city workers getting ready for round 2 of this winter weather.
Hi, Mark. Yeah, they're out there right now. We got a little show and tell for you as far as what these streets have looked like. The treated section. This is the parking lot here at 44 and Peoria. And basically, so throughout the day, this is what has fallen. About a 1/4 inch of sleet. And without treated, that's extremely slippery. If you look over here, this is the access road to get onto the street. You can see the cars are traveling safely on the wet section there. That's just water, that's not ice, and that's from the numerous salt and sand trucks that have gone by in the several hours that we've been here. Traffic at this hour is very light, which is great for those crews because it's going to allow them to try and keep pace with this storm as this next wave hits. So far, it hasn't been too hairy. Mostly some sleet that demanded respect with some slower speeds, and if you complied, you did fairly well. But that was round one, a round whose big brother is expected to come to town shortly, prompting the sand and salt yard to keep hustling around the clock. Any particularly bad spots in town, or is it all pretty much the same?
Mostly hills. We're getting a lot of calls on some of the hills, so the areas that have a lot of hills, we're getting some calls on that. That ice that came in is kind of staying there with the cold temperatures.
And the strategy moving forward now?
Well, now that the weather's kind of slowed down a little bit, that we're starting to treat and we're starting to be able to move forward with those streets, and hopefully by in the morning we'll have them cleared for morning traffic to go to work.
And those crews will be out there throughout the night. And if you happen to see one, like we just did a moment ago, and give them the old 1970s, give me a toot, they might do it like they did for us. It was really cool. Reporting live, Bert Mumlow, News Channel 8.
Yeah, good advice. Thanks, Bert. A child was killed in a traffic accident in Muskogee this morning.
It happened just before 10 a.m. on the East Shawnee Bypass Bridge. Police there say the 5-year-old was ejected from a vehicle after it slid on an icy bridge, lost control, and rolled several times. Police say the child was not wearing a seatbelt. 2 other children and 2 adults were treated for minor injuries. Ice and sleet are blanketing both roads and vehicles in Muskogee. Channel 8's Ethan Calloway talked to emergency management and police who say the streets are extremely slick.
It's this that's causing all the problems in Muskogee today, sleet covering everything in town, and it's on the roadways where that's been especially problematic. It may look like something off of a postcard, but conditions on these streets have been anything but pretty today.
I mean, we couldn't even hardly get traction. You know, it was sliding everywhere.
Even with steady sleet and a little snow mixed in, drivers still braved the unfriendly roads, many out of necessity.
I work in Tulsa, so I had to commute back. So it was bad getting home. So I've been in it ever since about 3 o'clock or so, something like that.
Muskogee resident Nick Robinson is all too familiar with today's unfriendly roads, making the lengthy trek through the often heavy winter weather. But his plans for tomorrow involve a little less driving.
Sleep, and staying out of it.
The road conditions were much more serious at times, with several accidents in Muskogee County alone, at least one of those fatal. It's got a lot of people talking, but it couldn't keep everyone at home, many out just trying to find a bite to eat.
There's actually quite a lot of people out on the roads. I expected them to be cleared out, especially for this town closes down at 8 o'clock normally, and there's a lot of people out on the road.
I haven't had to do very much, but I've been riding a passenger, and that's even scarier.
All of today's driving headaches pushing a lot of people here indoors tomorrow, with some straightforward advice from one Muskogee resident.
Go home.
And it's the same message over and over again from officials today. If you have to be out on the roads, be extremely cautious. If you don't, just stay home. In Muskogee, Ethan Calloway, Tulsa's Channel 8.
Parts of Oklahoma to the south and east of Tulsa got the hardest hit earlier today.
Number of accidents are being blamed on slick roads and bridges. Channel 8's Charles Ely reports on a semi that crashed into Lake Eufaula.
Downtown McAllister is all lit up with Christmas lights, but the weather is casting a shadow on the spirit of the season. They just have to get through this storm to really enjoy the holidays. This day gave us a few samples of what could happen if the weather gets worse in the hours ahead. 2 people skidded across both sides of I-40 near Shakota, putting the nose of their semi into Lake Eufaula. While a guy towing a pickup near McAllister lost control, he skidded across a bridge and ended up under a semi. The trucker was shaken up.
And then when I slow down, I get out and I don't see him anywhere. So that automatically, I started running back there. You know, I was like, oh my God, I just killed this guy. You know, I didn't know what was going on.
Fortunately, everyone walked away from those wrecks, and back in town, others were going about their business as usual. Many places are staying open to serve their customers.
Oh yeah, come rain, sleet, or snow, they will come to eat. I can remember one year in particular, a few years back, we was under tornado warning, and it was pretty nasty outside. The tornado sirens were going off, and people just kept packing in here.
A warm plate of pasta sounds pretty good in weather like this. Let's hope the lights stay on. Charles Healy, Tulsa's Channel 8, McAllister.
Well, coming up, another look at the snowfall forecast and when round 2 will arrive.
And later on, the world is mourning the loss of an icon. We'll look back at the life and legacy of Nelson Mandela.
We are back with breaking weather. You're looking at a live picture of the Brookside area. That is where a power outage is being reported. 2,500 customers are impacted between 31st and 45th Streets in Riverside and Lewis. No estimate on time on when it will be back up. Please watch for updates in this newscast and on GMO in the morning.
And of course, the weather's been a major concern for flyers trying to get in and out of Tulsa. This is a live look at Tulsa International Airport tonight. We checked, and a number of flights in and out of Tulsa have been delayed. Several were canceled. So a word of warning, travelers should check their flights online or call ahead in the morning. We have received a number of weather pics from our viewers today.
David Hendricks sent us this picture of ice and sleet coating the sidewalk outside his home in Warner. Thanks for sending that in, David. And in Broken Arrow, a mother sent us this picture. She says, thanks to Broken Arrow Public Schools for the yard drop bus service today. Please send your photos to weatherpics@k2l.com. They could end up in one of our newscasts.
Now, your forecast in the Oklahoma Ford Storm Center.
Our winter storm is here, and it's not done with us yet. We still have another round that will be moving through late tonight into early tomorrow morning. And looking at what's going on right now on HD Max 8000, as we loop this over the last 12 hours, we've seen significant moisture move through the area, and it's been a mixture ranging from rain down to the south over extreme southeastern Oklahoma to a mixture of snow and sleet, and then eventually that boundary changes over to all snow and a little bit of sleet along the I-44 corridor. And then we saw it wrapping up. So for most of the evening, though, it's been relatively dry, and this is basically how we expected the storm system to play out. It's the next round that's moving in out across parts of Texas. Right now, though, here in the metro, we're looking at dry conditions. There are just a few light flurries around Skiatook to Claremore, even off to the east of Inola along Interstate 44 and 412. And you notice that the heavier pocket of snow stretches from around Tahlequah to Stillwell and moving into Arkansas and even into southwestern Missouri. So this was that first wave that we expected to move through during the mid-morning hours, continuing into the afternoon and evening, and then we saw this break. But we are still looking at a mixture from around Vian along Interstate 40. This is where we're looking at the accumulation that will continue here for the next several hours. We still have that very warm layer of air that is over extreme southeastern Oklahoma, right along I-40 and to the south. So from McAllister to around Sallisaw, Poteau, this is the area that will see the best chances for accumulation. So I'm looking at this big round of snow that's hanging out over parts of West Texas. This is what is headed our way. And I've put an arrow drawing exactly what we're looking at time-wise. This is running at about 35 miles an hour. So if you kind of add it all up, that puts this in here, the next round, in about 7 hours. So I'm going right now between possibly about 2 to 4 a.m. that we'll be looking at this next round of moisture moving into the area. And again, it could be in the form of sleet and snow, mostly snow. And the reason why is because of how cold it is outside. So right now we are still under the winter storm warning, which is in effect until tomorrow night. Covers most of eastern Oklahoma. There is still the ice warning in effect down to the south of us. And this is the area that's shrinking just a little bit because of the colder air that is moving in and will continue to remain in place. So we're going with an additional quarter to a half an inch. So we're talking about Poteau, just off to the east of Tallahena and down to the south over Hugo, where we're actually now getting some reports of power outages right along the Oklahoma-Texas border. So not only here in Brookside, but other portions of the state are dealing with outages. Snow totals. This is another revision, and they keep being updated because we keep getting new information in. So we're tweaking these as the next round moves in. So I'm looking at about 3 inches in Miami, Pryor, Tahlequah, Muskogee. At this point, we're looking probably about 4 to 6 inches before the system is all said and done throughout the mid-morning hours tomorrow. I'm looking at about 5 in Bristow and Seminole about 5. Here in Tulsa, we're going anywhere from about 3 to 4 inches by the early morning hours. And again, the heaviest round coming in between 2 to 4 o'clock. I'm thinking more 4 and 5 is when we'll really start to see the snow picking up. Still a mixture after midnight tonight, but then that next round moving in. Notice this is at around noon tomorrow that we'll start to see lighter snow, but the heavier bands moving off to the east into Arkansas and Missouri, and the storm system will start exiting. That means drier air moving in and an extremely cold night tomorrow night into Saturday morning. What we're looking at as far as right now across the area, temperature-wise, haven't really budged a whole lot from where we've been sitting from earlier in the day. Teens and 20s, and not going to see them fluctuating a whole lot. When you look at just how cold this air mass is, it's 1 in Denver, 19 Kansas City, and it's really impacting all the way back into parts of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and then it's heading into the Appalachians, even into Texas. Houston is sitting at 40 degrees, Austin 35. So most of the country is being gripped by this Arctic air mass. When you mix in the winds, this is what it feels like outside. We're looking at 7 in Pawhuska, 7 in Bristow and Okemah. And those winds will remain even 10, 15 miles an hour are just enough to really make those wind chills drop even more. So tonight I'm going with teens and 20s. Here's this next round of snow that's moving in. So 7 a.m. we're still going to have some pretty good snow accumulating not only on the grassy areas but the roadways, and still with that layer of ice on the roads in many spots, especially those secondary streets. That's going to be the main concern. In the afternoon, our highs only in the 20s, and we actually may start seeing clearing skies by tomorrow night. Now, the next 8 days, the super cold air, it hangs on, and that pipeline from Canada, that Polar Express, is going to be sitting on top of us. So that means that we're looking at highs only in the 20s. We don't get above freezing until the middle part, maybe tail end of next week. And there might even be another round of snow coming in late Saturday and Sunday, but I just don't anticipate that that's going to be our big concern. The Bedlam game, wind chills, sub-zero readings, and we're looking at probably kickoff at about 10 degrees.
Not fun at all.
No.
All right, thanks, Jennifer.
All right, coming up, driving on snow and ice takes patience and know-how. Channel 8's Burt Mumolo is in the field with some pointers.
South Africa and the world is mourning the loss of a hero and an icon.
Nelson Mandela has died at the age of 95. ABC's Karen Travers has a look back at his legacy and reaction to his passing.
South African President Jacob Zuma announced Nelson Mandela's passing to the world.
Who, more than any other, came to embody their sense of a common nationhood.
President Obama offered the condolences of the United States on a man he said was a significant influence and inspiration to him.
Today he's gone home. We've lost one of the most influential, courageous, and profoundly good human beings that any of us will share time with on this earth.
Born in 1918, Nelson Mandela was the son of a tribal chief.
What's the reply?
As a young man, he faced the daily humiliation of living under apartheid, a system of government-enforced racial division that led to the oppression of the majority, black South Africans. Mandela made the fight for his country and people's liberation his cause. But in 1964, he paid the price with his own freedom, sentenced to a life in prison.
I have cherished the idea of a democratic and free society. It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
With Mandela in chains, South Africans found a new rallying cry. Free Mandela became synonymous with demands for a free South Africa. After nearly 3 decades, President F.W. de Klerk finally released Mandela.
I greet you all in the name of peace, democracy, and freedom for all.
He was embraced by his people and the world. Mandela became a Nobel Peace Prize recipient, and in the fruition of a political dream, was elected president in the country's first free election. His influence never waned, even at home, hosting a number of visitors, including First Lady Michelle Obama. Nelson Mandela became a living symbol of freedom and the strength of the human spirit in South Africa and beyond. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Our coverage of this winter weather continues after the break. Stick around for a few tips to make your drive to and from work a lot easier.
Plus, wasting away again in Margaritaville. Despite the snow and bitter cold, parrot heads invade downtown Tulsa.
Doesn't matter if it's snow or not. Get out here, see Jimmy Buffett.
Parrot heads weren't about to let a little bit of bad weather keep them away from seeing Jimmy Buffett. Fans flocked to the BOK Center to see his concert tonight. We caught up with a couple at a pre-party in downtown Tulsa today. After all, who can resist Margaritaville in the middle of a winter storm? Well, driving on the snow and ice can be a tricky situation, but there are some tips if you have to get out in it.
Channel 8's Burt Mummel has more details for us.
Hi folks, here's some quick winter weather tips for driving and vehicle preparation to make your life as easy as possible in the next few challenging days. First thing to remember, if you're driving a pickup especially, you want to have something in the back to weigh it down, because this is just fishtail city waiting to happen. You can get those tube sands, you can put cat litter in the back, you can put jugs of water in the back, just anything to really get you some weight and get some weight in the back. Then on your windshield, this is pure brilliance, pure genius and simplicity. Take a trash bag, put it over your windshield like this, put the wiper blades on top. So this solves a lot of problems all in one. First of all, your wiper blades aren't going to be iced down, frozen to the bottom here. Secondly, keeps all that ice off of your windshield, eliminates all that scraping and the heartache of you trying to get out there and clear it up. You come out, it's either not going to stick to this, or if it does stick to this, you just rip it right off. That's smart. And secondly, or thirdly, also remember to keep your windshield washer fluid topped off for these types of conditions, because you know the stuff on the road's going to be getting real messy, and that stuff also helps eliminate the ice. So there's some tips for you. Burt Mummel, Tulsa Channel 8.
All right, thanks, Burt. When we come back, Jennifer has a final look at your frigid forecast, plus an update on that power outage in Brookside. Update now to breaking news. You're looking at a live picture in Brookside, where power is currently being restored to 2,500 customers. PSO tells Channel 8 most should have electricity by 11 o'clock tonight.
And here's a look at the snow that is going to be moving in. Really, the third round will be coming through by the early morning hours. And so we're watching this next complex of snow moving into the state by 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning.
That's our news tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good.